welcome to our economics class for today. In our previous class, we dealt with the concept of demand and the concept of supply. Today, we are going to see the theory of production. Though we have talked about production in our commerce class, but it's still going to reoccur in our economics class. These classes are interrelated: business study, economics, commerce, sometimes agriculture. They are interrelated. So always pay attention, because your knowledge of the other subject can help you to understand another better. Now, what is production? It just has to do with all activities put together to make production successful, to make production activity successful. There are various activities that is aimed at making production successful, or that is aimed at creating goods and services for the satisfaction of consumer wants. What are these activities? They can be direct or indirect activities that is directly related to production process. All of them put together is what makes production possible. So, like I put it here, production is the various economic activities aimed at the creation of goods and services and the distribution of these to the final consumers. If you remember when we discussed about direct and indirect services, we have services that are directly related to production, and there are services that are indirectly related to production. All of these activities put together is what it's aimed at production, and this one help to get these goods to the final consumer. We can equally say that it is the creation of utility, which means that all goods and services is capable of satisfying certain human wants. That it is the creation of utility, and utility has to do with that which can satisfy human wants, or that which can satisfy certain human wants. So the key point here in production is it has to do with activities that is aimed at creation of goods, services, and distribution. So there is goods, there is services, there is distribution. And how does these goods and services interact? It must get to final consumers. So production is aimed, it is various activities aimed at doing what? Producing goods and services, and the distribution of these goods and services to final consumers. Once the goods get to final consumers, you can know that yes, the production process is complete. If you have been in our business study class, when we talk about the channels of the distribution, you will see all the channels, and you find out that the last channel in the chain of distribution is the consumer. So once goods gets to the final consumers, that means the production process have been completed. So creation of utility, which brings about satisfaction of certain human wants to final consumer, is what makes production complete. This class will cover three key areas, three objectives: types of production, which I have explained, explain the types of meaning of production, types of production. We're going to differentiate between the direct and indirect production, which is going to be the types, and then we'll draw the curtain for the class. So we have seen what is production. Now let's go to the next. What are the types of production that we have? Remember, we said it is activity aimed at producing goods, services, distribution to final consumers. So what are those types of production that can bring all these activities together? Let's go to the next point. Explain the types of production. Now let's look at the types of production, which is our second objective. We have two major types of production: the direct production and the indirect production. Let's focus on the first one, direct production, before we talk about the second one, indirect production. Direct production has to do with production of goods and services that is aimed at taking care of one's immediate family. It doesn't require large-scale production. It doesn't require production for reward. It doesn't require production that will involve other commercial activities that takes the goods to the final consumers. In direct production, the producer and his entire family are the consumers. So direct production has to do with the individual, people producing for their immediate family, providing goods and services for the satisfaction of their immediate family, direct. But that's quite different from indirect. Indirect has to do with large-scale production. Now let's go to the second one, which is the indirect production. Under the indirect production, we have the primary production, secondary production, and the tertiary production. On the types of production, we have talked about the direct production. Now we are taking the indirect production. I use this small diagram to show you what an indirect production is. Indirect production has three key areas: the primary production, the secondary production, and the tertiary production. Under the primary production, if you have listened to our commerce class on production, you understand this better. Under the primary production, they are the kind of production that is it's gotten from nature. They are natural raw materials that are gotten from nature. They are as the way nature makes it. So they are things that God has created that humans get to carry out the process of production. Let's take, for example, mining, getting of gold, fishing, coal gotten from the earth crust, precious stones, limestones. These are primary production because they are from their primary nature, as nature have it, as God has made it. And so the primary production go and extract it in that raw state, crude oil. They go extract it in that raw state that nature have made it. Now after extracting it the way nature have made it, they'll move next to the secondary production, which has to do with using the primary production which nature have made to process products, either semi-finished products or finished products that is capable of satisfying human wants. That's secondary production. This is where technicality comes in. This is where specialization comes in. This is where labor comes in. This is where entrepreneurship comes in. Though entrepreneurship still involves all forms of production because they bring in the skill, creativity to put all of these into work. So here, we have specialization, we have division of labor. We have expatriate kind of work that individual does here. Here, machines are involved. And so, individuals have to carry out this process. Food processing. The food that are gotten from nature. Let's say the cassava that is gotten from nature is processed into different things. Flour, gari, akpu, different things you can use it to make. This is where the processing takes place. You have maize gotten from nature. You process it into different things. Conflicts, golden mold, sweetened corn, and the rest of them. So this is where the process takes place so that it can be processed into finished goods or semi-finished goods that is capable to satisfy human wants. Then tertiary has to do with activities that makes these two processes get to the final consumers. So here we have all activities that make production process complete. We have the retailer, the wholesaler, we have transportation, banking, communication, insurance. All of this comes under the tertiary. And then still under the tertiary, we have special advisory bodies like individuals that render services to us, teachers, lawyers that come to undertake different activities for all of the production process to get to the final consumers in a more better way. So we have seen what types of production we have, direct and indirect, and under indirect we have three processes: primary, secondary, and tertiary. The last objective for our class: differentiate between direct and indirect production. That's what we have: direct production, indirect production. First, direct production produces for one's family alone, while indirect production encourages large-scale production. That is one. The second one does not require large capital for direct production. Since it is for you and your family, the capital required is not very large. But in indirect production, it requires large capital, because you will need to buy machineries, you will need to buy different equipment to carry out the processing. Since you are targeting a large number of people, since your production is for profit making, satisfaction of many wants. The third one is goods are not for sale for direct production. But in indirect production, goods produced is majorly for sale, because it's large scale production and the public is direct, it's the major focus. The fourth one is for family use. For family use. Then this other one, it's aimed at profit making. Just family use alone, no profit. It's not majorly for profit, not for profit. Not for profit for number 4. For family uses, not for profit purpose. But for indirect, aim at profit making. That's why they go into large scale production. The more you produce, the more profit you aim at, because the more persons that you will get to. Then the fifth one is require various individuals to undertake various labors. They need specialized individual. Division of labor is encouraged here, because different persons have to undertake different aspects of the production process. But here, family labor is mostly required. If at all they want to take external labor, very small. So this is the difference between the direct production and the indirect production. So we have covered our objective in this class: production, types of production, and difference between direct and indirect production. Thank you for being part of this class. Over and over again, see how you understand it, see how you're able to answer those questions I raised as our objectives. It was nice having you on Class Online School. Comment below the comment box if you have any question. Give us thumbs up, share our videos, invite other people to this channel. To all my numerous subscribers from all parts of the world, thank you for being part of our channel. Until I come your way next time, thank you.